leading economics and experts in labor economics, this episode will interrogate how evidence-based research can be harnessed to create a wage framework that is not only fair and transparent, but also future-ready. Join us as we explore the innovative solutions and strategies that can reshape the landscape of wage in Ghana, ensuring that all workers are compensated justly for their contributions to the economy. Don't miss this enlightening discussion that promises to spark meaningful conversations about the future of work in our nation. With me to delve into this discussion is Dr. Mohammed Ibn Mukhtar, a lecturer in management studies at the Methodist University of Ghana. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm your regular host, Cephas Nnadosu. And please be reminded that this wonderful program is sponsored by Hedge Pension Trust. Hedge Pension Trust. Doc, I'm sure you also earn wage.
Sure.
Oh, okay. I thought wage is for only those of us in the civil service. Okay. So, in your opening remarks, how do you envisage or see the wage landscape in Ghana?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to address the issue of wage. After all of us, we need money to make things move. Without the money, it's a problem. So we work and we expect to be compensated or paid. And the singing has been that equal volume of work should attract equal volume of pay. But unfortunately, not as a lecturer. Yes, what you give out is not what you receive in return.
So, before we delve deep into this topic, and coming from where you left off, that equal work for equal pay, in the scriptures, there was a parable that was said by Christ, Jesus Christ, to the effect that the laborer who started work in the morning, the one who started in the afternoon and the evening, both had the same pay. So where lies the equal work for equal pay, or equal pay for equal work?
Well, what the scripture did not add is how long
did each of them work. Thank you very much. So from this angle, I want to know your perspective as to what you perceive, if there are any policy gaps in Ghana's current wage system.
You see, the entire wage or salary issue is not an issue of today. It has a very long history, even into colonial times. We read from history where people who were working in the castles, they were not paid what they deserved, and even at the right time. If I remember most of the blacks who later became clerks and others never received their fair compensation throughout. So it is not an issue of today. So it is actually a contemporary issue. And when you talk of an issue being contemporary issue, that means it is an age-old, unresolved matter that continues to haunt today.
So is it as a result of policy gaps or non-adherence to the very policies that are supposed to address some of these inconsistencies?
I would say it is all, not exactly policy gaps, or it is all. When you are looking at a contemporary issue, there are some 5 characteristics you need to pay attention to. if you are looking at a contemporary issue, an issue that has been there and worrying or hunting or disturbing people or societies, you will look at it from those 5 characteristics point of view. Talk of the political, talk of the economic, talk of the social, talk of the historic, and the geographical perspective. These are the 5 things you need to look at in order to address the policy issue. And if you don't address these things per the 5 characteristics, then you will have the gaps. So the entire thing is looking at the policy holistically. Look at the politics or the political view. Look at the economic. Look at the social. Look at the historic. Where did it start from? For example, I just mentioned when it comes to Ghana's salaries, it starts from the colonial time. People were never paid as expected. Even people who were qualified, in our history books, people who were qualified were never given the jobs. And where they were given jobs, payment was based on color.
But Doc, you see, Ghana, because of some of these, unfavorable conditions, we were led by Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah to gain our independence. And I think that independence means that you are not tied to the apron steel of what you are getting independent from. So what hasn't changed, and why are we still more or less psychologically colonized, or by attitude colonized by these same conditions that we were running away from?
Fantastic. See, for example, it's good you mention our first president, Dr. Nkrumah. He came up with his 7-year development plan. And if we had actually implemented that plan, we were not supposed to even be paying taxes if those things were those policies were well implemented. We were supposed to be benefiting from whatever those 7-year plan was supposed to put in place. And so even if we would be paying taxes, it should have been minimal. Because the institutions he established were supposed to pay themselves and bring about profits, so that caveat of ability to pay would have been well managed. But unfortunately, till today, we never really implemented that 7-year development plan. And what we've been doing are tidbits and not holistic.
Well, it's sad.
That's where we are.
But I want to find out from you, you realize that this cycle has become the norm. Year in, year out, between August, September, October, you'll be hearing of the tripartite meeting where they are going to meet to deliberate and come out or agree on a new minimum wage or base pay and what have you. Meanwhile, from economic perspective, we have the long-term, medium-term, and a short-term plan. Don't you think that in our medium to long-term plans, we could have indicators built in that would reference how these adjustments could be made? In that case, you can plan the economy for quite a long time. Instead of this perennial, every year in, year out, we are doing negotiations and that kind of thing, and based on the time of the year, especially if it's an election year, then government's hand is tied behind him and he must succumb to what he called the pressures of labor. If you are not in the political season, government is the upper hand, and he must also show his powers. What do you think? And its impact on the economy as a whole?
Yes, you have answered yourself by giving the whole thing to politics. I said that there are 5 characteristics that we need to look at. We have reduced all the other parameters, and we are always talking about the politics. So the politics is the order of the day. And the labor is strategizing, the political class is strategizing. So that is what is distorting the issue further. We do not look at the social aspects, because if you want to look at salary or compensation, even though we are talking of what you put in, what comes out, pay you based on the amount of work
you've done.
But we look at other conditions, the economic condition, the social, the geographic, the what have you. But as I said, we don't look at the other 4. We are always just playing with the political character. And that is where we continue to distort the realities, and we will never get to.
But Doc, you see, you gave us this 4 or 5 parameters.
5.
The political, the economies, social, the technological, geographical,
historic.
Okay. And historic. Well, I thought we were mentioning pests. That were thought
No.
Okay. But then you see, the point is this. In all that you've mentioned, where lies productivity? Because we should not be looking at the political interest alone. We should not be looking at the economic interest alone. We should not be looking at social interest alone. I mean, all the other parameters. But at the end of the day also, whatever the laborer is paid must be able to fend for him. Aside that, the employer must also have the productivity, so continue to be in business. How do you balance your 5 thematic areas productivity? That has been the argument.
So that is why I said, for now, we are tackling the problem wrongly, because all emphasis is on the political aspect. We are not looking at the others. Let's go into history. What has it been? What has it been? For example, before the establishment of fair wages, there was head of civil service or Privates and Incomes Board that was taking care of post-independent Ghana salaries. But later that was shifted into a unit at the head of civil service. That was determining that. Then the whole thing went out. The whole thing went out. There wasn't any particular institution taking care of salaries. So it means the great way was opened. So when the problem was seen that there is the need to have an established institution, that led to the establishment of fair wages and salaries. A law was passed because one of the weaknesses was that there was no law. A law was passed. So, in 2010, we had fair wages pay single spine based on some extensive research work done by one consultant. It is Cohen or so. See, they did a job evaluation. They came up with some standards and came out talking about how to govern salaries and so on. So that was supposed to have arrested all those things. What has happened after implementation? Is the problem solved?
Is it a policy gap or non-adherence?
Poor implementation, non-adherence to the issues, and again, politics.
Okay, so based on the challenges you have outlined, do you see any balance or imbalance between the base pay, the minimum wage, and the single spine structure of all these categories of emolument? Is there an imbalance or balance between them?
You see, in Ghana, for example, having data or information is problematic. One of the things we should have seen with our fair wages and salaries and other related organizations was to be having constant conversations to know. In fact, one thing that is leading to our salary gaps and so on is that nobody talks about salary. Salary is purely secret in our system, and that is problematic. That promotes corruption. Salaries elsewhere in Europe, jobs are advertised with the salary, everything is out there. Everybody knows. But here, no. Here, look, my school gave me some assignment to do with my department, management studies. We were supposed to audit our HR. And the same institution, the letter the VC wrote to the department was copied to the finance. We went to the finance to get the salary database. They denied us. The same Methodist University. They denied that. So that thing is so secretive that you can't talk about it. You can't get the data to talk about. Everybody is sitting on his or her salary. So it is difficult to even talk of if there are any disparities at all.
No, don't you think that it's because of possibly the disparities and the gaps? That's why people are not proud to talk about.
They will deepen. If I don't know what you are taking, you don't know what I'm taking.
Wow.
It will deepen. So that is not good governance. That is poor governance of salaries and wages in our country.
Government, I'm sure, in addressing some of the concerns you have raised in terms of the criteria that government should be looking at in setting up the salary standards and what have you, I'm sure that was one of the things that led into the Fair Wage and Salaries Commission and the introduction of the single spine salary structure.
Sure.
How do you perceive the introduction of the single spine salary structure has performed so far?
In fact, it's difficult to even see what the performance, because one of the requirements was to bridge the gap of performance or productivity. I have not seen any evidence of that. There were about 4 things they were supposed to do. People with same qualification, market
premium, and what
exam premium, and In fact, I don't see which out of the 4 which is standing tall. I don't see which. The productivity is where we should be able to show evidence. But where is it? People still go to work any time they want and leave any time they want. Where is the evidence of the productivity?
So sometimes when they talk about productivity, it beats my imagination, especially in the service-oriented sector, where maybe the productivity can be measured based on the number of clients you're able to serve in a day or service you're able to deliver. And so, has there been a situation where we would say that people have come to the civil service and their issues are still not being met, they are still outstanding, and for which reason they are not being productive? Otherwise, the economy would have gone to a halt. And so the most affected for me is a prospective civil servant. And so is it because it is perceived it's not productive, that is why he's not getting a fair wage?
I don't think so. Let me give you a typical example. When I was at the Management Services Department, we were consulting or working for a particular organization. I was standing with the receptionist, and I was asking her how many people visit that office every day. Little did she know that I was looking through the visitors' records. Oh, a day we can get about 20 to 50 people. I say, here? He says, yes. I said, what do they come to do? Meanwhile, in the records, maximum was 5. Minimum was 5, maximum 10. So I had checked about 7 weeks while asking her. So what she was telling me was not what she was documenting.
Is it possible that people were passing through without documenting their presence?
Well, I have just been there for a couple of minutes, so I cannot answer that question. But the documentation there was supposed to give me the evidence.
Okay, so let's assume the figures you found were what the situation was like. Does it mean that she wasn't being productive?
Obviously, she was even deceiving me, deceiving a public officer. That is a crime.
No, yes,
Good.
deceiving a public officer is a crime. But that does not answer the question.
She is not supposed to bring the visitors.
Exactly.
The visitors are supposed to come on their own.
So by
I was
virtue of the
trying
known
to
numbers,
assess
okay,
what she does, apart from recording visitors' data. What else does she do? Was my next question I put to her, so that I would see how she spends her 8 hours in the office.
But again, it's the fact that the employee does not determine his scope of work. He is a receptionist, and that's what he has been given. So even if throughout the day nobody comes, you cannot say he's been less productive. And again, he must earn his wage.
She must earn her wage.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that is why you add certain jobs to taking data of visitors.
And that's the responsibility of management.
That is the responsibility. So my duty there was to listen to her, and then when I met management, we will know how to sort it out. So in the end, there were days she got more visitors when there were issues to be, and there were days it was just the normal 5, So in the end, we have to reassess her job
to see whether to add some other jobs or
exactly.
But I can tell you on authority that if you go to the Controller and Accountant General's Department, where they have restructured their client service and reception, they can give you monthly record of attendance of visitors that have come there, and even the category of issues they came with, and the number of people per each category of issue. And it may be, even if you take a 6-month record, you can tell the frequency and that kind of thing. So that's a plus for them. Okay, but then, sir, the single spine salary structure was introduced, among other things, to even out the distortions in the wage structure of the country. How do you perceive this? Has this been achieved? And if not, what should we do, or what could be done?
Yeah, single spine as
Ghana Universal
Salary Structure. We are not at the way it was distorted. It is what I think we are facing now, because as I said, your power to negotiate as a union, how connected you are, you may get through with what you are looking for. And then it gets worse by the token that in that government, politically, government is always forced to add to, so the distortion goes on.
Okay, but sir, we'll try not to lament so much on the challenges, because I want to take some of these gaps, non-adherence to policy, what have been put in place,
Yeah.
and the distortions therein and what have you, to look at from academia perspective. Because you see, the people we are training in our schools, our colleges, our universities are supposed to come and manage the same situation we are complaining of. So from the management or academic perspective, how do you see, how can you influence, how can academia influence the distortions to the best or a better condition than we have it currently?
Yeah, academia can help in two ways.
Okay.
If the opportunity is given to lead in research, you see, that whole salary thing needs to be properly researched. And when we do the research, these 5 characters I talked about, they will stand tall. We look at it historically, how it has affected the people economically, how it has affected the people socially, with geographical location. For example, in Ghana, it is common to talk about incentives to send people to deprived areas. So if we look at it from that perspective, if I'm sending you to the so-called deprived area, what are the incentives? There was a policy like that. Additional duty allowance in the health sector. It was abused. It was abused. Even watchmen. Everybody benefited. In the end,
say, I agree. But then my question is that what could be the role of academia? Because
that
for
is
instance,
what I am explaining.
For instance, you have students who are doing, let's say, MPhil, so it's a research work. There are those who have been doing a general master's program who are supposed to do some kind of project work. Can't academia look at some of the sectors of the economy that have some of these challenges and say, in approving your research, it must be relevant to our needs, to the challenges in the system. So, I mean, you spread them to cover these areas, and then eventually they can publish some of these research work.
You see, I'm laughing. My graduate students, I have asked them where they are working. They could come up with problems there so that the research they are doing will be relevant to their own workplaces. They will tell me their bosses will not even agree. Their bosses don't cooperate. These are the challenges we are facing. So, look, I have a student who is supposed to submit her thesis as we talk. When she started, we had this challenge. He says her bosses will not open up. And it's a common thing. It's a common, so there is a gap between industry and academia. Just the research work, as we are talking of. I had one student who worked with one organization. They should just give us the annual report, because in the annual report, they state challenges, problems and challenges section, achievement and so on, so that you can pick one of the challenges and work on for your own organization. They will tell you that the annual report is confidential report. It shouldn't go out. So these are the challenges academia is facing. My HOD has queried me because I have asked somebody to go to the workplace and ask for annual report. That's a problem.
Well, it's a problem, and that is why we are here.
That's why we are here.
Because problems must be solved. And problems are solved by people.
Exactly.
And as a citizen of Ghana, we are part of the solution.
Sure.
And so Policy Pulse is also part of the means of finding solutions to some of these problems. So stay back, going on a commercial break, we'll be back soon.
Oh la la, afia kwa bochi en bio. Ogua fetu afesha asana be bio. Impemsie hotel beer festival na asana be bio. Yemo biara fisha pa. Ogua fetu afeshi epebe bia jiwenwa. Abe you know that. Impemsie hotel na wada ko. Kecho kodwo non kan tradwa. Tell a friend to tell another friend. Oyende basa na ye trace wo. Friday, 5th September. Old school jam with the Evergreen Closack Band. And you bring 6 p.m. Saturday, 6th September. Reggae night with Ras Wizzy, Ras Alfred alongside the Closack Band. And a Sunday, 7th September. Ibrahim do papa Interscrews Football Galano. Accra Academy Adibonum. We'll kiss him. Ozama Disco. A disco but more than watching. Come on, Willie Bass, Zama, Ogasco's Bonroco. Bona Pite. Kwabo just Wamakwan. Poche, Zama Ghana National. Wapas Bonum. One about Muachi. Agre Memorial. Wakacha Bono. Wake kiss up the Titan. Oh, you go! In Pepsi Hotel Beer Festival. Here Football Gala. Ambush be a young. The same day now. And I'm from a Fenero Kodo. I'm from an Brebi. And a Pernun Gajo when you bring us here. My former base Zago. Or your children's fanfare. We may first painting. Bouncer Castle. You bet your ice cream, popcorn, trampoline, and a Pioca Kaon. Parent, come with your case. It is free. Venue, Pimpemsia Hotel. Oh, Crawford to Afesia. There's only one place to go. Pimpemsia Hotel. Come one, come all.
My friends will be drinking all the beer.
Well, welcome back. We are still trying to understand the wage structure and systems that operates in Ghana, as to whether we are able to come out with a comprehensive wage system that aligns with economic conditions and gives workers a fair wage. I'm here as usual with Dr. Mohammed Ibn Mokhtar, who is a lecturer in management studies at the Methodist University, Ghana. Doc, I think today in the news, I heard that TUC had submitted a petition to the African Continental Free Trade Area, complaining about the overwhelming public debt, which they believe it is eroding avenues for other developmental agenda of the economy, like health and what have you. Again, the reps from AFTA also met the Minister for Finance and submitted the petitions to him. And in his response, he stated that about 23 countries in Africa are struggling with overwhelming debt burden. And one of the, I think, 5 who are in a precarious conditions, and for which reason might have had to either not adhere to the debt conditions or arrangements, debt repayment arrangements. It's Ghana that we have to go and negotiate for deferment in the payment of our debt and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the light of this, I want to find out whether the single spine salary structure in its original purpose is sustainable. Is that sustainable? In view of these debt burden, maybe you can share some light on this.
Yeah. Even before today, we said earlier that there is always a caveat, the ability to pay. If we do not ensure that ability to pay caveat is in place, then nothing will be sustainable. And we have driven ourselves towards this unsustainable debt burden. One of the requirements of the single spine was to talk about productivity as we were talking. To what extent have we ensured its implementation? To what extent? It is problematic. Once again, I went to one district. I was there in the office by 7:30. I waited till about 9 o'clock before the first person came. And that was the head of the place. And the watchman had already given me the attendance list. Everybody's name was there already. They were at
7:30.
At 7:30. But the earliest person came 9 something. So who are we deceiving? Who are we deceiving? The value system of the country is highly challenged. That's why some people can pay themselves. As we talk now, almost every CEO in the country takes tens of thousands of. Is it an honest salary? Is it an honest salary? So the burden is self-imposed. If a CEO is taking about 80,000 a month, 90,000 a month, what did he or she deliver?
Okay, so basically from the angle you're coming from,
Yes.
it means that it's not sustainable.
It's not.
But if it is not, what would you, from academic perspective, propose to be the solution?
We go to our
because
productivity.
you see, the problem is that you talked about the ability to pay. Then also is the fact that the account says fire from pine and boa ben or so whatever you call it. So the employer or the laborer need energy.
You need fuel
to produce. It's more like the chicken and the egg story.
Situation, yes.
How do we address it? Because we must come out of our debt situation. We must also make sure that we pay our workers fair wages.
Fair wages.
So how do we create a balance between the two?
And that is why I said that aspect of the fair wages, looking at productivity, we've let it to sleep. We need to visit there because that is where the resource, the service and goods and whatever should come from, that we may sell to get back our revenue so that we can be sustainable.
Can you prescribe some remedies that governments, the labor citizenry can adopt or take to remedy the situation? One, to mitigate the overriding debt burden without compromising what should be seen as a fair wage to the employee.
You see, let me tell you my story. When I was in the service in the 90s or so, there was one World Bank official, Peter Harold. I think Osafo Maafo increased our salary. He reversed it. I'm mentioning this to tell you that it is not just a local issue. There is international hands in it. So the problem goes beyond the local issue. He reversed it, and well, people didn't talk, but I'll sit in the office. I will come and go. I've come to work. You will pay me. But what have I come to do? If there is no work, you don't employ. So if you are employing, it means there is work, and that work will generate the revenue. This is where we need to look at it. We should not just be recruiting because people are complaining there are no jobs. No. The job is available, then you recruit. And to pay that person, you should be fair. For example, if the World Bank comes out to say that we should pay water, economic, electricity, economic, why is it that salary should not also be economic? That is where we get it wrong. And once again, the 5 characteristics must be looked at.
So you are proposing that this index they put in place in determining the new levels for utilities must also be applied to wage.
Yeah. That is where it is fair.
Okay. So in that case, just supposing that on the overriding and over increasing public debt, how do we mitigate the impact then?
Yeah, so that's what I said. The public debt is there because we probably are not producing enough to generate the revenue. And once we don't generate, then we will go for loans and others, and then we burden ourselves in the end. And that's why I said that if there is no job, if there's nothing to do, why do you recruit? And if you are recruiting, then you should pay the person fairly. Economic rates. Because if the other utilities I'm paying economic, why is that salary I'm not paying economic? Even when I was a mere cleaner elsewhere, I could buy a brand new laptop. But today I sit here, I'm a professional. Who dare me? Are you getting the thing? So we just need to, before you recruit, there should be something to do. If there's nothing to do, why do you recruit?
So you think that recruitments are done not based on needs?
Not based on needs.
But, you know, there is a claim about the over-increasing unemployment rate and the consequences of unemployment, because it is said that the devil finds work for the idle hands. Is it not better to get them in some form of employment than allowing them to be idle and become a nuisance to the
Government recruitment is not the only source of recruitment. We call something the private sector. That is why government is supposed to facilitate, create opportunities for people to take. A university education, I've said it time and again, it is not supposed to give you a job. It giving you a job is a secondary thing. But the first thing is to open up your mind and help you build your potential so that you know what you can do and what you cannot do. That is what university education is supposed to do for you.
Wow.
Yes. So once your potential is open, that's where government creates opportunities, these so-called entrepreneurial things. You can take advantage of those things. But unfortunately, our government is not creating those opportunities for us. And so all of us, we think we must go into employment.
Okay, so I want us to now come back into the wage arena and let's look at the holistic conditions of service. I think before the introduction of the single spine salary structure, for many institutions, organizations, or employees, they have conditions of service that gives them, for instance, housing allowance, transport allowance, and what have you. Then over the years, they said these have been consolidated. How important, how does this consolidation impact on their well-being and vis-a-vis the economic debt management? I'm saying this because in Nkrumah's era, you realize that a lot of bungalows and quarters were built around the ministry's enclave. These are all gone. You have workers traveling from Koforidua to work and go back. Fafraha, the traffic, and all those, that kind of thing. We are talking about productivity. We are not talking about the conditions of service. That includes housing, that includes allowances, that includes transportation, health, and what have you, are not being considered. How do we then say that the employee is not productive? I mean, I don't know what you have to say to this.
Yes, you said it that there were bungalows and what have you close to the ministries and all those. Yes, Nkrumah provided accommodation as a condition. It was even at that time free. Then later people were asked to pay a token. And later people sold it to themselves. Where are the monies that were realized? Where are those monies that were realized? And what was the plan when they were selling those things off? So you see, we just had wrong policies. We just this is why we created our own poverty or whatever.
So in negotiating for wages and salaries, or base pay as you may call it, shouldn't the tripartite be also looking extensively at the conditions of service or the conditions of work, so that this chorus about non-productivity and what have you would find the root cause of it and address them holistically?
You see, per the law, the PSC, Public Services Commission, the OHCS, Office of Head of Civil Service, they are supposed to manage the HR. So these should be things they are doing every day. Churning out policies, improving policies, and so on. It should not wait until it runs into difficulties and becomes political. 2012 or so, before the then president was sworn in January, doctors were already on strike because of their condition of service. Was that not enough to have sent a message to the entire world that there is the need to look at this. You see, we have reduced everything to the politics, and we strategize where I hold your balls, where you hold my balls. That is where we've left it. So the issues are there, rotting away. OACS, they are supposed to manage the HR of the civil service, PSC, the rest of the civil, the condition of these are policies every day they should be talking about. These are issues they should be researching and discussing, negotiating and advocating. It does not need to rot to the core before it comes up.
So, Fair Wage and Salaries Commission were put in place to ensure that fair wage is paid. Then we have just looked at the conditions of service. Now you have the Article 190 holders and Article 71 service holders. You realize that the Article 71 service holders, the conditions that ensures productivity are there.
Yeah.
Housing, car or transports,
Yeah.
fuel, and what have you are there. Yet the emolument is skyrocketing, to the roof. You have Article 190 holders whose conditions are sometimes not considered as to whether there is even reliable transport system to make sure they come and go from work. In fact, one instance is the fact that nursing mothers, let's say coming from Kaswa, would have to branch off to Dansoman, go and leave their babies, their kids with family members or in a school. So they take a detour, then come back onto the road, pick another car, and come to work. Then at 3, they are struggling to go and fetch their kids. In another circumstance that we have enumerated, where lies fair wage? And how can this disparity be corrected?
Well, with the fair wage, we have said it already that if you are looking at the wage, then it must also be looked at economically, across board. Across board. Because if I go to the hospital, this is what I'll be paying, then in paying me, all should be considered. If utilities, this is what I pay, in paying me, all should be considered. Transport, all should be considered. But do we do that? We don't do that. And that is why this annual token, 10%, 5%, is not feasible. It's not feasible. So the entire policy of wage and condition of service should be looked at holistically. Proper research should be done from all angles. And then something better put together. Either than that, what we are doing is not sustainable and it won't solve any problem. Our situation will get worse.
Honestly, I'm sure because you are from academia, you continue to hammer on research. But I believe that in researching, then you are finding what you have not seen, or uncovering and acquiring the kind of knowledge you may be lacking. But these are facts that are known to us, that the poor civil servant travel miles in an uncomfortable transport system, deplorable road mechanism, and traffic-prone, unhealthy conditions to come to work. Yet, his salary cannot take him home. We have Article 71 holders who are provided all these conditions. Now, when it comes to salary negotiation, then you say that the poor civil servant is unproductive. Do we need to research into this again?
Of course. Research
And
is
don't
not
we know-
only
don't we
about
know-
what you don't know, but
Uh-huh.
it's also about something you don't even understand.
Yeah. So they don't understand it, that we have deplorable conditions, that there are no housing schemes.
You've seen the fact there, but do you understand how it came about? Research goes beyond just mere facts. No, it goes beyond that. It will bring understanding, connect one thing to the other. In any case, when the Fair Wages Law was established, it said there should be one law that talks about
One
public
structure.
sector. Exactly. So why do we still have two? Why do we segregate? So it means we are not ready to solve our problem. If we are ready to solve it, there should be one law, and we should all ensure that it works.
So you mentioned these factors that you think are worthwhile considering in coming out with wage policies. You mentioned the political consideration,
aspects,
the
yes.
economic condition,
Sure.
social condition,
Sure.
geographical condition,
Sure.
and what have you.
Good.
Do you think these parameters play a role in coming out with the public service conditions of service? If they do you think the conditions of service in the public service is keeping pace with inflation and economic conditions?
Obviously, when you look at it, it means you are looking at it holistically. Talk about the social. You talk of this poor man who is coming from poor road, poor whatever, poor whatever. They are all things you look at. Why do we even have the poor road there in the first place? You see? So once we look at those characteristics, history will take us back for us to understand what didn't work well, at what point, what was it. Then, as we said, economically, if you say I should pay utilities economically, then my pay too should be economical, so that I can go to the hospital without fear or favor. So when you are looking at the salary holistically, you are looking at the entire system, so that you are fixing the problem once and for all. Once we are not doing that, we are promoting poverty. Yes, and as we said, if there is no job, why do you recruit? Then where do you get the revenue to pay that recruit? We'll be creating more debt ahead. So we should look at these things. And then, as I said, there are even international hands in it. It is research that will unravel that. And then after our findings as academics, together with those institutions, we do advocacy. We share to promote good governance.
But sir, I still want to know your perspective as to whether the conditions of service as it applies within the Ghana's public service is keeping pace with inflation and cost of living. If yes, then fair enough. But if no, maybe you can give me, apart from the determinants of giving, what, in one sentence, two sentences, how can this be dealt with? Because it's always becoming the chicken and the egg issue, you know, that kind of, so that we can have, because you see, this program is to help contribute to solutions of prevailing conditions or problems.
Yeah.
So if you can have some things you can
The
profess.
condition of service is not actually being at par with the inflationary. No, the inflation causes a whole lot of. Recently, we talked about food inflation, for example. Almost everybody's salary goes into feeding. So, what about the other part of life? So, it is problematic. You see, something has been on the lips of the public for some time talking about lifestyle audit. We've been talking about it, but nobody seems to move beyond the talk. We were here when, is it Mrs. Cotton or Miss Cotton? She was jailed in the US because her lifestyle changed. So the tax officials approached her and their findings put her in jail. She got her monies from Ghana. Right? So when we talk about lifestyle audit, you are an ordinary civil servant and you are changing cars.
Why did you say ordinary?
Yes, you are supposed to be civil servant. You are ordinary to serve the people. That's why you are ordinary. You are not super. It's a privilege.
Oh, okay.
It's a privilege to serve the people.
All right. Obviously, yes. I understand. Because you said ordinary, because I know they have even stopped using the servant, and they said civil service personnel or officer or something. So, Doc, you see, disparities and conditions of service, disparities in emoluments, sometimes creates chaos.
It does, not sometimes, always.
And sometimes what we realize is that today doctors are on the streets, tomorrow nurses are on the streets. So it is within the paramedics, there's imbalance. Then one union on the street and that kind of thing. Meanwhile, government, in the wisdom of addressing some of these unfortunate conditions and situations, introduce the single spine salary structure. What has been the problem in the implementation and adhering to the dictates of this beautiful policy?
I think to a large extent it is this inflation you keep mentioning. Because it makes whatever you got today useless. So you have to go again to negotiate. And in the law, it's permissible. And as we said again, your negotiation ability is based on two things: how connected you are and how loud you are. It may earn you something. And then the timing, if it's close to any major elections, it's taken advantage of. So we are not solving any problem. We are rather deepening it. If fair wages, by the word fair wages, we need to do a lot of good research to make whatever thing. For example, I don't see what they call base pay. You see, base pay, maybe 1,200 or 2,000. And then for you to enhance that base pay, they say this allowance, that allowance, that allowance, and then in the end you may get 4,000 or 5,000. That's why I have always wondered, that base pay, how is it determined? I think we should look at that please properly. Because if the base pay is good, you don't need those funny allowances to get a good pay. You get that? Yes. And then we should then talk of the conditions. They are separate. We need to look at them. But so long as we keep talking and we are not putting anything into action, we will be where we are and deepen our woes. That's it.
So, do you consider the single spine policy as a failure?
Somehow, yes.
So, how do we address this?
So again, let's go into our research. Because you will sit here somewhere, what you are seeing may not be real. It might be illusion, but research is what will bring it up. Research is what will bring the understanding. Research is what will connect the pieces to make sense. Research is what will give you the true evidence. And as I said, even our public institutions, they don't promote research. You go for data it is problematic. People are not opening up.
So, Doc, on this note of research,
Yeah.
I want us to take a commercial break so I could go and research into academia's role in shaping the wage policy in Ghana. Please stay tuned, we shall be right back.
From the loudest roar of celebrations to the deafening silence of defeat,
Welcome back. Welcome back. I told you I was going to conduct a research into the academia's role in shaping wage policy. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish, so I'm fortunate to have Doc here to help me. Doc, do you find a critical role for academia when it comes to shaping a wage policy? Do you think academia has a role to play?
In everything, academia has that role to play. They do the research, they do the advocacy, and they do the advice. And then they may even go ahead to train if need be. So academia has multiple roles. Sometimes they may act as the policy advisor so that they are close to the issue and they can see things happening, and then they will provide advice or make recommendations. So academia is very, very critical as far as all these are concerned.
You see, my interest in that stems from the fact that it appears in coming out with wage policy, we are more reactive and political than being evidence-based.
Good.
Because most often, you realize that what leads to wage policy formulation is a union
Good.
hitting the streets. So government comes in and solves the problem.
Good.
The another union will also hit the streets. Government comes in. So it doesn't look like there's a holistic, scientific, evidence-based approach.
There is nothing like
And
that.
so what do you perceive could be the influential role of academia in evening out these rough edges? Because, for instance, every political activist or office holder was once a student,
Yes.
and once a student of a lecturer. Every doctor or unionist was once a student. So these are your past students.
Yeah.
And as such that you have been clothed with the power of understanding issues and making scientific-based pronouncement on them. How do you see the role of academia in evening out some of these rough edges?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, as you rightly mentioned, yes, student leaders have transposed into national leaders and so on. But the difference here is that there is a course I taught for some time ago, Principles of Management. It's a first year course.
Boom.
Good. And in that course, we teach that there is the individual goal and there is the organizational goal. And in this context, there is
a national
goal. Good. And they are never the same. They are never the same. But if
They have their distinctive
they have their
influences.
exactly. So if you still keep your individual goal or your individual interests over your organizational goal, your organization will collapse. If you don't help the organization to achieve its goal, you won't get your individual goal solved. This is what I emphasize every time to my students, that you look at the larger, the broader perspective. Right now, we should all be talking of national interest, not the self-interest, not the private interest. This is where the difference is. People are out there trying to get their individual interests or their individual goals, and it is the organizational or the national goal that fails. It is that which suffers. That is where we are today. So even though we may train the students this way, but when they are out there, they are on their own. When they are out there, they are on their own. You see, and they choose to pursue their personal, individual
you see,
interests.
the point is that,
Yes.
first and foremost,
Yes.
the person is an individual person
Yes.
with individual aspirations.
Yes.
And that aspirations is what metamorphosed into political environment,
Not necessarily.
organizational environment.
Yeah.
So once he finds himself in an organizational environment, he still has his personal goals
Always.
to pursue.
Good.
How would he or do you expect him to balance?
And that is why we are
The-
saying
the
it's not
weight-
about balance. It's about you push yours down for the organization or the national interest to be achieved. If that is achieved, yours will automatically be solved.
Wow.
But people want theirs to be achieved irrespective of any other. And that is where we run into trouble.
So,
So you subordinate your personal goal or your personal interest, because if the organization gets it right, yours will be solved. After all, you are in the organization because you think when you are there, you can get your goals achieved, isn't it? So once you are there, you subordinate yours and help get the organization or the national goal achieved. If that is achieved, then, and that is where we say the national level should set the standards, set the goals, make it clear so that our work output should be getting towards that goal. Then we can make it successfully.
So you realize that we, for every organizations, we have what you call the work ethics that is supposed to guide
Sure.
our individual performance so that our individual goals do not overly come to play. And I don't think there's any institution in Ghana that hasn't gotten this. Even when this government came into power, they developed what they call the code of conduct or something
For the
for
politicians.
the politicians.
Yes.
So is it the implementation enforcement of these policies that give rise for individual goals to superintend over organizational or national goals?
Yes. You see, the president's wisdom suggested to him that individual goals can bring trouble. And that is why the code of conduct was established for them. However, when it was established, it was never connected to the rest of the system. There's a gap there. It's not only the politicians who have that. In the civil service, we have how do we call it? The code of conduct.
Code of conduct.
We have it. So how have we connected the two? So we have poor implementation of policies. So this one is lying there, this is lying here. There's a gap. So people continue to do what they want. And they get away with it. Nobody is punished. Are you getting the point? So that is where we are. So individuals will continue to pursue their individual goals or individual interests.
So basically it's about enforcement.
It's about enforcement. It's about enforcement.
Just as we fail to enforce wage policies,
That's it.
in the same vein, we fail to enforce.
We are supposed to have one law handling what public sector salaries. But why do we have to? Why do we have to? We've talked. It's still two. There's the need to have that one and implement everything. That's it.
So do you think that the government should begin to re-look into the Minimum Wage Act or the wage policy, be it even a single spine salary structure, and look at, what do you think we should do about that one?
I think, as I said, as an academic, there must be a lot of research work there. We look at the policy holistic once, and you see, one law. To get that one law, this is where this whole salary thing should be researched properly. And then that one law will come and then everything well implemented.
So you would notice that there seems to be disalignment between the broader labor market and the realities we face in the economy. And because we're coming to the concluding portions of this program, and I want some profound, impacting guidelines or message from you, how we can realign the single spine salary structure with the realities of the economy, and in a bid to address the disparities that has emerged in the implementation of the single spine. Because now it appears that it is no more a single spine, but multiple spine. But each human being has one spine.
Yeah. So we are having fake people in our system. Yes, just as we said, the way Goose died, Ghana Universal Salary Structure died, single spine is also dying in that same manner. So it takes research to come out with the facts, the evidence, the connections, the understanding, the meaning, so that all these things can be cut off. We should not forget that the private sector will always pick from the public sector the good ones and pay them a little better. Pay them a little better. So it weakens the public sector. This is something nobody is talking about. The NGOs, few coins, they are gone. So if we don't do proper research and come out with one law for everybody in the public sector, I am not sure we are doing ourselves any service. So we need a good research, good advocacy, good training, and do proper implementation of whatever one law that we may come up with.
If you are called upon to make a recommendation, one urgent reform to government, to labor, to employers on reviving the single spine salary structure or reforming our wage policy, what would it be and why?
Good governance. Good governance of our productivity or our performance management. Why? Because we are talking of lifestyle audits. Why are we talking about it? Because people see people, perception. People see people live way and above what they are supposed to be earning. And if people are living that way and living freely, what do you think will happen? So, once again, we need to employ good governance of our salary structure. We should talk about it. It should be an everyday conversation. It should not be something so secretive, confidential. No, it is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong. We need to be open. If you are advertising a position, these are the salaries and allowances that come with it. It should be there in the public, in the newspaper. If you go to Europe, you see it. You go to, it's there. There's nothing secretive about salary. There is nothing secretive. We should change from that old mentality into some good governance and openly talk it. That's what we should do. Yes. And when that is even done, people themselves would, people will know that I don't earn this, so I can't live this lifestyle. So the lifestyle audit thing, I think, is long overdue. Yeah.
Someone jokingly said that when I was poor, you didn't come to audit
Good.
why I was poor. Now I'm rich, you want to know why I'm rich.
Good. Because you should not be poor if somebody did not take what you deserve.
Thank you very much. So, Doc, can you give us your concluding remarks?
Well, the whole salary thing requires massive research work, and we need to look at the 5 characteristics of any contemporary issue. So let's take the pay thing as a contemporary issue, and it is. It is. So let's look at the political aspect of it. Currently, if you go out there, you may see research that is in only political, that is in only social, that is in only economic.
Not connected.
Not connected. So we should look at the 5 issues, characteristics, holistically. For example, as I'm talking now, if you don't look at it socially, you will not even know that those in the private sector, they are being poached with some few coins, which leaves the public service weak. We also deserve the high IQs in the public service. So what do we do to maintain them? Let's pay them well. Let's motivate them. Give them good condition of service. That's it. I personally would have always preferred to work for the public service. If I'm not working for the public service, I should be doing my own business, not somebody else. So we should create a conducive environment. But all these must be based on research so that we get the evidence, we get the facts, we get the understanding. We should solve this our problem once and for all. Salary issues must be talked openly. Good governance should not be private and confidential. No, it should be open.
We must talk about salaries openly.
Yeah.
And what even touched my heart or gladdens my heart is the fact that we must pay the public sector worker well. Thank you very much, Doc. Viewers, today we have delved into the single spine salary structure, and the sustainability of the public service conditions, highlighting how wage policy must evolve in response to rising living costs, weak enforcement, and structural imbalances. The academic perspectives shared here, a beacon of hope, illustrating how evidence-based research can inform policy changes that promote fairness and transparency. As we move forward, it is imperative that we continue these conversations and advocate for a wage framework that not only meets the needs of today, but it is also prepared for the challenges of tomorrow. Together, we can work towards a future where every worker in Ghana is compensated justly for their contributions towards the economy. And that's how where we draw the curtains down on today's policy thoughts. I thank you, viewers, for staying tuned. I thank my producer. I thank all the backroom staff, my technical crew, and most importantly, our main sponsors, Hedge Pension Trust. Until I come knocking on your screen again in your homes, this is your regular host, Cephas Na Dosu, bringing you Policy Pulse. Goodbye.
Clog TV. Beyond the policy.